As was shared, we are excited about progress. We're also excited about the possibility of the continuation of this work far beyond our years. And it's possible. And the Bible talks about despise not small beginning, number one. Secondarily, it's amazing what seeds look like as compared to the tree. And it's a good chance that this last 28 and a half years has been about the seed. But there should be the expectation that the Lord will accomplish what he purposed in his heart. Most God visions, the people that he gives it to never sees it to the extent that they saw it. That's very common. And so we should not be discouraged to think that, we're all getting older, et cetera, et cetera. No, God has a way. And it doesn't take a lot for him because we planted some really wonderful seeds and in a way that we really can't appreciate. But I think today you got to get a little bit of a glimpse into what God has been doing. And, a lot of what he does is in the quiet and in the dark. But it manifests in the light, and it's always beautiful. With that said, I've invited a few of our emerging generation folk to take time, and they're going to kind of share their thoughts about what this ministry might look like going forward. And so I'm going to give them the mic. They planned it all. Jalen and tomorrow, Ann was involved. Ann got trapped with the weather and all. But they're just going to share some things today, and we're going to listen. And if they ask our participation, fine. If not, we'll just listen and take in what they're sharing. Let's receive them. It's a wrap.
First, I want to start off. Bishop and I had a conversation a couple weeks ago that we talked about a plethora of things, but it ended up with just seeing how the demographic of 25 to 40 within this ministry and just in the kingdom of God in general has a unique perspective of we were born before technology started to boom the way that it is, but we became full-blown adults in the midst of the technology. And based on what happened during the pandemic and this new version of church that we're going into, how does that look for our generation moving forward when the older generation decides that they want to step away from taking the front seat and kind of come to the back, and then the generation behind us, how we can help usher them into their new space. So over the past couple of weeks, we've had some meetings and some things, and we came up with some questions that we felt were important, and we've all been stewing over answers. So today, what we're going to do is I'm going to read some of the questions, and then the three of us will answer them. Now, if anybody out there has anything that they want to say, please raise your hand. We'll get to that, comments, questions, whatever, and we'll just run it like that. That sound good?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So starting off, my name is Jalen, and the first question that we have is, how long have you been a part of this ministry, and how long have you considered yourself a part of the kingdom as a whole? So I'll start by saying I was raised in church, but when I would say it was age 16 when I decided that my parents weren't forcing me to do this. This is something I wanted to seek for myself. So being 29 now, I would say 13 years is kind of how I've been taking the journey
Wonderful.
and to learning about Christ and trying to be a better person.
I'm Derek Jr. And for me, it was my whole life in church, and then came to Journey Center about 25, 26 years ago. And I've been a believer, not being forced to go to church, for myself about 7 years.
I'm tomorrow, and
Yes, you are.
yes, I am. And I have been a believer since the age of 11. So that makes for 27 years. And I've been a part of this amazing community since, we'll say fall, winter of 2005. So I'm almost in my 20th year here.
Okay. Second question, what characteristic would you say describes our generation the best, in your words? I'll let y'all answer.
I'll go first. More of, we're gonna question, we're gonna ask, we're gonna say, hey, I hear what you're saying and I got you, but why? and we're gonna want an answer. You know, when you were younger, you had your parents, when you were to say something, they'll say, because I said so. But the older that we've gotten, we want answers so that we can know how we can follow properly. Not just going with the flow, not because everybody else is doing it. No, I need a clear answer before I move forward. So I think that's how I get it.
And I see it as we're hands-on, very hands-on. We like to do it ourselves, and sometimes we might look into each other for answers instead of looking up at times, but I think that's something we could work on.
For me, I came up kind of the same thing as Tomorrow, and the word I used was inquisitive. Like she said, more so it's just like, why are we doing this? And I grew up in a house where like we weren't really allowed to ask why, but then my parents were like, as you get older, you get more why privileges for certain things. Because I feel like it's hard to put your whole heart into something that you don't fully understand. You stepping out on faith in certain ways, but sometimes the person that you're speaking to might not see it from the lens that you see it from, especially when it comes to technology and things like that. We can accept structure, but sometimes the structure doesn't work for the what it is that we're trying to do in that moment. And it's not a disrespectful thing, it's more so of there's multiple ways to get to the same solution kind of vibe. So let's see, word or phrase of how you see the current ministry, so Journey Center Global.
I would say growing in the digital space a lot more than the in-person. So I would say we're growing.
I'll say growth as well, but more in the knowledge of the word. I probably can speak probably for a majority to say that since we've came into the virtual space, since pandemic, we have gotten a lot of knowledge. We've been in our word a lot. Especially when days start, that's probably our foundation in terms of, because week over week, you're going to get a scripture, which means you're going to have to read that chapter, which means you may have to read that book. And now when I can see how that moves in everybody in terms of, I think that we are finally understanding a little less of just going to church. Like, we are trying to do what the word is telling us to do. And I feel that we're growing in that.
The word I chose was rare. Through my traveling and talking to people and being on service when I'm in different places, people are like, that doesn't sound like church. So I think we all kind of have a misconception of what church is, but because I grew up in this, this is the only thing I really know. So hearing other perspectives, that's the word that's like, oh, that's rare. Like, he's not like pandering to get people to pay stuff. He's not shouting and yelling. It's more like I'm sitting in a lecture more than it is sitting in what you would see on TV, I guess. And people often feel like they're not being yelled at or judged. It's more so like, okay, there's something for me to learn. I don't know if I want to learn it. I'm here and I'm listening to it, but it makes you want to see what's going on further beyond whatever that part of the ministry you were listening to that day, whether it was Day Start, whether it was Boundless Sunday, or any of the other groups that we have for breaking down things. So I think rare was the word that came to my mind. Next question. What are some of the pros and challenges of being a hybrid ministry in your opinion?
So pros for me is being able to learn at your own pace without shame. When you're in a physical space, sometimes you'll play a part. Sometimes you'll feel like you're missing out because you're not catching on like everybody else is. So being able to be virtual, to be in your own space, you're able to navigate it at your own pace. And it also challenges you to kind of do some things independently, which I guess kind of for me falls into the con. Sometimes you can slip because you don't have that. Accountability is the word I would use. You don't have that accountability partner unless you find one to make sure that you're doing what you need to do, or you'll get easily distracted. So I think those are the pros and cons for me.
For me, a pro would be convenience. If I don't have a haircut, if I don't so I'm not feeling the best that day. I mean, it's just as simple as that. Some reasons why people wouldn't want to come to a physical space sometimes. It's just convenient. I can roll over and not show my face if I don't want to, and just still be a part and get everything that everybody else has gotten without having to physically be there. And the challenge would be the reverse of that, is laziness. There will be times where I'm like, I could do that, or I could just watch TikTok. Or I could, your thoughts start to, just being honest, your thoughts start to go, or you have so many other distractions that take up your day when you aren't physically going to a building where I'm here and I have to be present because I'm here. You have to kind of force yourself to be present when you're not in a physical location.
That's good. Yeah, I would say the same. For the pros, it would be you can be anonymous if you want. You don't have to show your face. With the digital, you can log on in your bed, in the car, on the go. I know I get off work 7:30, and then a.m., and then I'm getting on Day Start, and my dad's leaving to go to work, and he's on Day Start. So, and then a con would be, like they all said, just the accountability and the laziness of actually doing it. Gotta want it.
All right, this next one is kind of there's a two-parter. And being an active participant, how do you feel you can contribute to the advancement of the ministry? And then the second part of that is, how can the elders in the church assist in helping you step into that role?
So, first part is see a spot and fill it.
Yes.
See a spot and fill it.
Yes.
And I feel that works not only for us in our generation, but everybody.
That's right.
We are all part of a body. I always say, and I joke around, like, I want to be the best big toe that I want to be, that I can be.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for somebody else to do it. If I see the spot there, it's just like you see a piece of paper on the floor. Everybody can't walk by it. Somebody gonna have to pick that up.
Yeah.
So just seeing that need and being there, which means you're gonna have to put yourself out there. You may be uncomfortable. If anybody know, I'm very uncomfortable with, I would have been fine just sitting and just doing church as usual with everybody else. But spots need to be filled.
Yeah.
So if you know that you can do it, then do it. If you have an inkling that you can do it, then that's when the elders come in. So you see somebody who is doing something that you like or something that you're interested in. You might want to go ahead and just pull on their toe to perfect their coat. Like, hey,
Right. That's
I see what you're doing. Tell me a little bit about that. How do you do A, B, and C? And start slow. We're not saying we're trying to take over the whole world. We know we ain't trying to do that. We want to do it in our own pace. I think that's another thing about it with the elders. Like, we want to. We don't want you to just throw it at us and then run away. Definitely don't want that.
good.
We want you to be patient with us, just like you would with your grandchildren. I'll say grandchildren because your children, we know we missed out. But your grandchildren, y'all gonna be real nice to them. And y'all gonna love them and give them all kind of grace. I want y'all to do us like that in this space. Baby steps at a time, but I promise you we want.
Say that question again, because we older and kind of forgetting.
Okay, the first part of the question is, in being an active participant, how do you feel you can contribute to the advancement of the ministry? And then the second part is, how can the elders in the church assist in helping you step into that role?
For me, I believe today I help set up the tables and I do certain things my dad or bishop asked me to do because I want to help. And Mr. Brad was here also helping, and just like the storage unit, I took care of that this summer.
Yes, you did.
Just little things that normally people wouldn't want to do, like getting their hands dirty or moving stuff around because it's heavy work or whatever. But just offering your service would be a big part, like Tamara said, and just for the older generation, just to get tips and tricks to help it go easier, and just to show us what you would like, how you would like it done, so we can get it done the way you want it.
Awesome.
For me, I kind of look at it like a business. So, like for me, I'm good at just, I don't know, being. I don't really have like a set of skills that I would say like it's for this, and this. So if people ask me to do stuff, I'll figure it out even if I don't want to do it. And as far as like the elder part, I would say treat us like you would treat your job or your business. If you're the manager having to train a new person, you're patient with them. You show them your systems. You show them the little tricks of the trade. And although there is some element of figure it out, I think there's sometimes a disconnect in like your version of figure it out is like let them fail to figure it out. But our generation is kind of like, I'm not trying to fail, and you know how to make me not fail. So that makes me not want to try because I know you're letting me fail for a reason. And like mentally, that's what people think. I'm not saying but perception is reality in some cases. So it's just one of those situations where it's like, maybe even if it's, like I tell my parents all the time, like Bishop and Pastor Steve and Brother Brad, like all these guys reaching out to me, asking me what I like to do outside of like basketball at a certain point, that makes me want to be a part of what's going on because you're taking interest in me as a person. So that's making me feel valued to show these skills inside the ministry, and not feeling like I'm just here because my parents brought me here at a certain point.
Yeah. Good.
And the final question, what does the future of Journey Center Global look like to you?
Real quick,
Oh,
can I add?
yes, go ahead.
So I think I didn't get in the meeting, sorry. I wanted to add though that I feel like we can bring, with the digital aspect, we have a little bit more knowledge in that. So we can bring that over here.
Come on, let's get the mic.
Hand
Hand
her the mic, sit down.
That's why he was on the email.
At her own, we'll talk about that later. But I feel like we can bring a lot of knowledge when it comes to the digital part. I mean, even the younger kids too. They can definitely help us with that because I still need help in that. But I also know that there's things that I have the skills for that I can bring that knowledge to. But then also for the second part of the question, I feel like he said, don't just let us go. Hold our hand along the way because some of us do need that. But yeah, I think that was it. That was all I was adding. My thoughts.
Just get a seat. Take a seat. Get on the other side. Come around. Pull a seat up.
Help yourself.
We're gonna get it perfect for the last question. Right on time.
Ooh, man, scoot up a little bit. All right. And then one more time, final question. What does the future of Journey Center Global look like to you?
I think of legacy. And I think Bishop talks about it all the time, especially when it comes to him and his lineage. So I see the same here at this church. I don't, as expansive as we have, like you said, we have from Papa Ronnie down to little one over there, to your grandson, to little Nolan. As long as everyone is continuing to pick up,
Yeah.
we're gonna be all right. I don't see this ever ending like that. It might look different. And as Bishop said, you know, you may not see it, but know that what you guys have instilled in us, we're gonna make sure to do y'all proud. And I think that's another thing in our generation, like, we wanna make y'all proud. We don't wanna have y'all disappointed in us or feel like y'all said everything and nobody was listening. Like, we're listening.
That's right.
We might not do it in the speed and the pace that you want, but I promise you we're listening. And we want this to continue on because we know what it can do, not only in this space, but in virtual and across the seas. Like, we've seen that work, and we want to keep that going.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yes, I see it going more digital because we have, like you said, overseas. We have people in Atlanta, South Carolina, Memphis. We got people checking in from all over the states and across the seas right now. So the digital is nice, but getting together and gathering like this is always nice too.
Yeah.
To actual physical touch and to talk to people face to face, look at them, and it's always nice. So the integrated is really good. So I see it growing how it's been the last 4 years, but probably more digital than physical.
I agree with both. I see it being similar to how it is now, but also looking different because, like, once again, times change, things have changed, things will continue to evolve, and so it'll look different. But I feel like it'll still be that the digital space. It'll be I'm hoping even bigger. Physical, we can even bigger, but I feel like it'll still be the same and just evolving.
Good.
For me, I feel like we're just scratching the surface of this type of business because it is a business. So like people are doing this in their companies, and I heard my mom the other day talking about like they're mad that we gotta go into the office once, twice a month. But before, when I was growing up, everybody went to the office every day. So it's like, that's changing. The mindset is changing that less is more in certain aspects.
Good.
And I think we're about to start getting the talent out of everybody. Like people that are uncomfortable with being around a lot of people, their talents can be used behind the scenes or online. The people that I talked to my dad, I was like, I don't get energy from being around a lot of people. That drains me. I gotta go take a nap after this probably.
Yes.
But he gets energy from talking to everybody. So this type of model works for both of us because I could be at home doing what I do and he can be here hugging and talking all day. And we're all getting the same message, but we're all able to control our environment to a certain extent. So that's kind of what I think the future is leading to that, where people can get the same message online or in person. And I think once you start meeting people and seeing people how they live in other places, that will make you start to travel more and want to see different parts of the world. I think we're so closed-minded here in the US that we don't even know that it's lovely in Europe.
Yeah.
People think Africa is poor. It's not the case. I know people that have compounds in Nigeria, and you'd never see it because of what the media shows us. But with the kingdom, we can see what the world really has to offer, and your greatest life might not be here. It could be over there. And this is the opportunity, if we take it and run with it correctly, that we can figure those types of things out.
My question is, how do you guys express your frustration? Or how do you communicate back when there is a negative feedback, like from us or from anybody else?
I have had a plethora of times where I have had feelings and thoughts, but I had to think of the heart of the person who was sending it to me. So I wouldn't necessarily express it to that person right away. It's gonna come up in conversation now. Eventually, I'm gonna say, now, remember that time when we was, and this is how I felt, but this is how I had the thought process. I think we're going to probably have the conversation amongst ourselves in terms of, did you hear what this person told me, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, hopefully we can bounce it off one another in terms of how to properly handle the situation. But I think it still circles back to knowing who the heart of the person who has given you the correction. Are they doing it in love? Are they doing it to do dictatorship? And I haven't experienced that here. So, and I don't think I'm ever going to experience it here. So I'm always going to have to check myself to say, hey, no, they were lovingly correcting me. So let me see what I can do for myself to be better.
To answer that question, from my opinion, I think there's this internal element. It's like saying anything back would be deemed disrespectful depending on the age of the person that you're talking to. Like any disagreement might come off as disrespectful. So I tend to internalize things and really don't say anything, and I'll just be the one to be like, all right, I'm just not going back to that situation. But I think as I've gotten older, a conversation, I realized that a conversation doesn't always have to be an agreement between two people. And it's not disrespect to not agree. We're just trying to get to a place where we can agree. So I think the frustration comes in when you feel like you're not being heard more than it is the situation is not going the right way. Anyway.
I'm still a work in progress, so I'll get mad first. I'm just be honest, depending on what it is. I might get mad first. I'm gonna soak in that, and then I'm gonna process it on, and then I'll eventually have that conversation with that person, or I'm probably gonna have it with my peer, and let's talk about it. Because, and like she said, also too, thinking about the heart of the person. I'm gonna have to talk through that with somebody first, and then I wanna have that conversation with that person.
I heard you guys both, or I don't know exactly who said it, but it was to the point where you said that you questioned, I think it was Jalen said, you want to know questions or you ask why. And then I think it may have been Derek, but I'm not sure. But basically, the question I want to do with the why is that, do you all feel that you have freedom to be able to express your why or your ability to input where you maybe even see some wrong or maybe some things that are right where you can put an input to make it better?
Like earlier today, when we were working when we were working to put the sign up, and we were trying to figure out why I was leaning, and I came over, after you and Bishop were working on it, and then I started helping messing with it, and we figured it needed to go down a little bit more, just asking and trying to see what you guys were doing and how I could help.
Yeah, I think the why is more for clarity than it is for like telling somebody that they're wrong. So I feel like how the lady said, like, they look for the heart of the person that is frustrating them. It's the same for the question. Like, you, especially you talking to your dad, I'm talking to my dad. My dad kind of knows how my question sounds, if I'm being condescending or not. But for the most part, if I'm asking why, it's just like, because I'm thinking like, okay, well, why are you doing it this way? Because in my head, it looks like it could go easier this way. And instead of just being like, hey, should we do it this way? Because I'm still trying to respect your process because you're older, and I'm like, oh, he may have done this before. So I'm like, it's looking like it's not going to work out. Why are we doing it this way? Instead of, why are you doing that this way? I think the tone in which the question is asked is different.
Good, that's good.
I understand that it may be more individual, but what's the best way for us to motivate you all?
And encourage.
Presence is everything. I can speak for myself. Being someone who has dealt with abandonment issues, I want you to be there. I want you to talk to me, encourage me. And I can speak for myself. You guys have done an amazing job with encouraging me in any space that I am filled to tell me you're doing a great job. I'm very proud of you. You know, keep going. So words of affirmation works really well for me.
I think for me, it's a mix of correction and praise. I think sometimes it's like 80-20 correction, no praise. So then you kind of get this feeling like, am I doing anything right? So you just shut down. And I feel like we all, at some point in life, have dealt with that. Like, am I doing this right? And especially in a space that you're growing into that you don't really know what's going into, like taking a bigger step in the church is scary because you're like, I'm responsible for people now. So like, I'm used to just showing up. Now I got to be here early. So, hey, you did a great job with that, or just keep going, or I'm praying for you about this and that. I think those little things that people kind of don't think about because people are quick to tell you what you did wrong, but people are never quick to tell you what you did right. And then sometimes telling me what I did right doesn't need to be followed up with a but. Just, no, you did that right. And I'll talk to you later about what we could have done better. Like in the midst of the moment, like if I'm feeling on a high of, like, you don't know, like for me, I don't like talking in front of people. So to hear this, I'm doing it because like, this is what I'm asked to do, but I'm saying, if I did something wrong today, I would rather people be like, no, that was good, and then tell me tomorrow that what we could have worked on. Because then I'm already thinking in my head like, oh, I should have said this better. I should have asked that question better. I should have looked at this person. I'm already doing that to myself. And then when you do it, it's like, well, I'm not going up there again. Don't ask me.
But I think you get beyond that.
Yeah.
I think at a point in time, and I think that's in everybody's space of life, you get beyond that part of, I'm never going to do it again. It's like, no, I'm going to continue to try because I deserve to be in this space.
Yeah.
I deserve to be a part of this community just like any elder.
Yes.
So, and that takes time. So it's going to take that falling down and getting back up again. Because I've been that person where I'm like, I'll speak my mind and I'll say an answer, and it'll be like, that ain't it. And it'll be like, I'm never saying another word. But it's like, no, keep showing up. Because you're going to get it right. But it's going to be more listening than talking.
Yeah.
I just wanted to piggyback off of something that Jalen said about the scariness part. I feel like a lot of what I'm going through with my life is paralleling what the Journey Center is trying to accomplish with this seminar, because it's kind of like the baton pass from the older generation to the next. And one of the biggest things that I'm going through right now is, not going through, but experiencing, is being at my father's company and stepping into that leadership role where he will be stepping back. And I'm starting to see that there's a lot of pressure involved, but just based on what you said, I wanted to comment that we're not alone out here. We got to seek and look for those that will stand by us, and especially seek God, of course. But it is very reassuring to see that as we're growing, we're all kind of experiencing the same stuff, whether it's on the basketball court or in school. And it's important to keep in contact with those around you. So I just thought I would jump in on there, because when I'm at work, I'm seeing all these different companies and kind of trying to keep my image going and continue to prosper with what I'm doing, it's pretty much exactly the same thing as what's going on with the youth taking over and stepping up in the ministry.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, and my name's Ernest Jr. You might not have seen me for a while. I've been kind of hiding out, but I'm still around.
You know, I'm just sitting here, I was thinking, I'm listening to the conversation, great conversation. Thank you guys for your vulnerability and sharing and so forth. And I think about our generation that hopefully we've left a foundation for you to build on, that you can be successful in what you're doing. I guess my question becomes in reference to if you consider what you must do to make sure that the next generation coming after you can be as successful as your generation will be.
I've learned some things that I don't do the stuff that my parents did. I don't talk to him the way that my parents talked to me. I knew that there was a way that it needed to be done. And I think that for some of them, it makes it easier for them to buy in, to want to be a part, because they see us and then they see how we interact with them. So then they're like, oh, okay. So it's almost like, I don't know if it's a lot of pulling teeth for them. At least I can speak for mine. It makes it easier for them to want to do it. And I think even with us, some of us, we loosen up the reins a little bit. And we're in hopes, in hopes that they'll eventually want to be in this space. And I think that's a good thing, because you don't want, what I'm hoping doesn't happen is I'm here, I'm gonna have to go to church just because my parents told me to. But no, I actually want to be here because I like what I'm hearing, I like what I'm seeing, and that they had children's church. We didn't have it. We had, you better sit in this pew and be there. So as long as we stay interacting with them, and of course, like we said, we have the technology on our side, even though we got the beginnings of it, but we're willing and open to hear what they have to say, and join their TikToks and all that stuff. We wanna kick it with them. So as long as we continue to be on their side and talk to them like they're people, right? Like they're humans, then I think that they'll be on track. I don't think we have to hit on them as much as y'all had to hit on us.
Let's get one more.
I want to say something real quick.
Yeah.
To Pastor Sam, I wanted to make sure that everybody knew, because kind of what Ernest said. The nerves is because you guys are leaving big shoes to fill. So that's a positive thing. I don't. It's not fear of stepping up. It's fear of maybe feeling inadequate in certain ways that you don't know. So to answer your question about how we do for the second generation, I think it starts with you guys continuing to show us, to talk to us about some of the failures too, and not just the highlight reel. Because that's what we see. We see when the job is completed. We don't see what happened, the failures to get to this part. So I think that part is important, because once we see, okay, it took them 100 times to get this data correct.
Yeah.
Then we understand, okay, it's not perfect on the first time, and then we pass that down. So we have to pass down some of the failures as well as the successes.